All right, welcome everybody. Good evening and welcome to tonight's presentation, Saving Green While Living Green. Thank you all so much for coming. My name is Ryan Hellenbrand, librarian at the Glenview Public Library. Our presenter tonight is a Glencoe resident, Tina Hostert, a local mom with a passion for sustainability and empowering others through her words and actions. Tina is the founder of ReCommitted Supplies Company, a business that sells like-new packaging supplies for a fraction of the retail cost. Her goal is to minimize the need for single-use packaging supplies by offering residents and small businesses an alternative to new. Tina comes to us tonight to discuss ways that we can all save money while still being green. So please welcome Tina Hostert.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much, Ryan. I'm going to just get rid of this poll here in front of me. So yes, as Ryan said, I'm Tina Hostert, and out of a passion for the environment, coupled with witnessing the extreme amount of perfectly good reusable waste through working in high-end retail, I started the business ReCommitted Supplies Company. The goal of this, I sell like new packaging supplies for a fraction of what you would pay at a resale store, like Staples or Home Depot. I founded this company with the purpose of reducing single-use packaging supplies. And I do this by partnering with small retailers along the North Shore. I collect their unwanted, but still like new supplies, and then resell them for a reduced price. Most of the supplies that I sell would not be recyclable in any village recycling program. So typically they would go direct to landfill. This is basically me, and this is what I look like and my car looks like on any given day. I have recently started selling high-end fabric samples as well, since when I would go to a store, I would be picking up all these packaging supplies and see these beautiful pieces of art basically being tossed in the garbage. So now I am offering those up for sale as well. Basically, my business, we're all familiar with the 3 R's of environmental awareness: reduce, reuse, recycle. I am focusing on reducing what we use and recycling everything we can, or excuse me, reusing everything we can before we recycle. So I'm focusing on the first 2 of the 3 R's of environmental awareness. So why are we here today? Why are you here today? Why am I here today? Back in the fall of 2019, on a Facebook webpage, North Shore Mom Spot, there was this comment, and many, many comments like this. Greta Thunberg was just being recognized for sailing across the ocean, and this global strike movement was happening. And I could just hear in this mom's message how overwhelmed she was. And so this post is really the reason that it's what inspired me to start doing these library presentations. I can see how being green can feel overwhelming. None of us are going to become green overnight. For me, it has been years in the making, and it is a constant evolution, a constant learning and growth experience. My advice is to follow the science. Just as we've had to do with COVID, with each new year, each new study or finding, science will discover new ways of doing things. We all just need to remain open to changing our habits for the better. Okay, so, while it can feel overwhelming, we as individuals do hold so much power. And if you get anything out of the presentation today, I hope you walk away feeling inspired that you can. Small actions do make a difference. And why else would companies spend over $150 billion on advertising? Because what we buy dictates what they make. I mentioned Greta Thunberg, this environmentalist teenager. She inspires people to stop talking and start taking action. She's a teenager, one individual. And the first thing I thought of when I started hearing news about GameStop was, wow, if small individuals by buying a stock at 20, 60, 80, 90, up to however many hundreds of dollars can make a difference or really make a statement, even as short term as it was, uh, what can we as individuals and as communities do when it comes to our electric suppliers? So solar versus fossil fuels. So just remember that, your choices do hold power, even though sometimes it may not feel that way. So tonight is being green while saving green. Of course, my business model is to save people money, right? And so when I approached Glenview Library about doing a presentation, they said, well, we have this monthly program about finances. So how about being green while saving green? Because I think there's a misconception that in order to be environmentally friendly, you have to spend more money. That is not always the case. But there are two main points that my entire presentation centers around. And one is reducing consumption. There's really no way we can get around it. We need to just consider what and how much we buy to why we buy, recognizing our relationship with material possessions, consumerism overall. This does not mean that we have to sacrifice comforts. By no means do I want to. I just think we have to change the way we consume. Also, we have to ask ourselves, what do we want our communities to look like? Do we want cute little shops that we can stroll along and peer into and maybe buy something, for a loved one? Or do we want concrete fulfillment centers? So it's just some things that we need to think about. And in order to save money, sometimes it takes, while being environmentally friendly, sometimes it will require a higher upfront monetary investment. It just does sometimes, with the idea that you will save money in the long term. The intention is that you will buy a product that is meant to and built to last longer, rather than an item of substandard quality, like fast fashion, we all know. By buying higher quality, we will reduce the need to buy more often, and in the end, buy less. So those are the main ideas. So how in the long run are we going to save money when we have to spend so much more ahead of time? So this is a small household item, right? $6.99, you can buy a lunch skin bag that's going to hold a sandwich. This is a copy from their website. They say that this will replace 750 plastic sandwich bags. You can throw them in the dishwasher and so forth, okay? So this is the cost analysis. If Ziploc bags, the brand Ziploc, are 9 cents each, and of course this can vary, this lunchkin is $6.99, which is on the high end. I wanted to overestimate rather than under. So that means at 9 cents, that equates to 77 Ziploc bags. Okay, so this one lunchkin will provide you with 672 more uses. And over the lifetime, you save $60. So that is just one simple little scenario. But if you add up households, there are 122 million households in the US. If every household bought just one reusable bag to replace 750 plastic bags, then over 9 trillion plastic bags would be saved from going to landfill. And most of them do go to landfill because they're not recyclable in everyday recycling. You would need to take it with your grocery shopping bags to a Trex recycling center like Mariano's or Jewel. Okay, they have drop boxes there. So realistically, it's better to buy a reusable bag like this. Invest in our environment. So let's talk about reducing consumption. Okay, there are 3 areas in our lives that we can look for ways to reduce consumption generally: food, energy, and durable goods. Food, what we buy, what we eat, what we don't eat, and how we dispose of it. Energy use, how do we fuel our homes? Water usage, landscaping is a big thing. Durable goods consumption, so what we're buying at the mall. Our dollars speak volumes when we choose companies with sustainable manufacturing practices and materials. And it's so easy now to stand in a store and Google the name of a vendor, a company, a manufacturer, and find out what are their policies, what's their stance, what does the company believe. And I say Google, search engine. We can use any search engine. Okay. So let's talk about my favorite topic, which is food first. This is all within all of our control. We have control over this. An easy way to save money on your grocery bill is to eat what's in season. Out of season produce not only costs 25 to 40% more for consumers, the environmental costs are huge due to the fact that this product has to travel further to get to our grocery stores. Other issues is that there will always be more pesticides on it, less nutrition, definitely less flavorful, right? We've all had the bad blueberries that we were tempted. I was just tempted a couple weeks ago to buy blueberries and they were awful, fresh blueberries, because it happened to be a nice day, right? And then because they're traveling longer, they require more packaging. I mean, it kind of hits everywhere, right? Also, eat locally grown food, shop locally grown, and organic when possible. These are all choices. Sometimes organic food can be more expensive, but when it's seasonal, it's really not. The expense is nominally more. Blueberries in the winter are going to be very expensive, and most of the time you can't even find organic for out of season fruit. But when you're buying things in season, they are more reasonable. We've all heard about meatless Mondays and becoming vegetarian or vegan, and that is, those are wonderful steps to take, but I know that that's not for everyone. We could all use to eat less meat, of course, it's healthier as well, but I'm not going to tell you not to eat meat. I think really moderation is the best advice. And what about not throwing away food? Oh my goodness. To think that we waste anywhere from 25 to 40% of our food is overwhelming. And it's really all about habits. So how do you save money in this regard? You can reduce your grocery bill and prevent food waste by meal planning. And that I admittedly, there are weeks I'm on it and there are weeks I'm not on it. And the weeks that I'm on it, my whole life goes so much more smoothly. It reduces the stress of the week. It reduces last minute dinners out or takeout, which has packaging involved. And it's overall healthier for our diets because there's always less salt in food that you make at home. But it's really important to know that decomposing food contributes to our methane emissions. Methane emissions are 84 times more powerful than carbon dioxide in the first 2 decades of decomposition. Okay, while methane doesn't linger as long in the atmosphere as carbon dioxide, it is initially far more devastating to the climate because of how effectively it absorbs heat. There's a saying in the environmental circles: waste not, want not, and compost the rest. Okay. So composting. I'm a huge advocate for composting because this is something you can go to Home Depot, buy a bucket. I buy a 2-gallon, maybe it's a 5-gallon bucket. And I've had it probably for years, and I put it on my counter. When I don't want it visible, I tuck it under the kitchen sink. Composting is free fertilizer for especially this North Shore clay soil. I'm not sure why our society ever moved away from composting. It just doesn't even make sense. You know, you can do your own compost, or you can hire someone to come and pick up your compost. A reputable organization here is a Collective Resource. I believe Lakeshore Recycling still offers it. And then there's any other commercial service. I've even seen kids posting on Nextdoor saying, hey, if you want us to compost for you, we'll pick it up. And I'm sure they're very reasonable. So, you know, the other thing is that you can compost yourself. And I was always very intimidated, but it's not that hard. Again, use that search engine and look up composting. And it's really just a balance of greens and a balance of browns and a little bit of a mixture, and you're set. And then in about 6 to 9 months, you've got fertilizer for hopefully your garden beds, right? I'm hoping people are gardening. It's healthy, it's very therapeutic, and every now and then from the compost, you get a surprise in your garden. Last year, we got a pumpkin in our garden, and that was from composting our Halloween pumpkin seeds, or pumpkins overall. Okay, so the other benefits of composting, there's a long list, but compost enhances water retention in your soil. We talked about the methane. By composting wasted food and other organics, methane emissions are significantly reduced. Compost reduces and in some cases eliminates the need for chemical fertilizers. It promotes higher yields of agricultural crops. So again, great for the at-home gardens. So this is something that the initial investment on this, it ranges from anywhere from $100 to $300 when buying a compost container, or you can build your own for a nominal cost. Okay, second way to reduce consumption, how we fuel our homes in every manner. Electricity, being more environmentally friendly with our electricity consumption has gotten a lot easier, but it does require some upfront investigating and decision making. But then once you've made those decisions, very little effort is required. So renewable resource options. Basically, we need to take a step back from fossil fuels, right? I mean, it's in the news everywhere. So community solar. I joined Go Green Wilmette's community solar last year because Glencoe at the time didn't have a community solar program, but now they're rolling one out. So that's fantastic. I highly recommend. I went on the Glenview, the Village of Glenview's website, and you do have a green group. So I highly recommend contacting them if you're interested in that, or you can join other community solar. So obviously this has no upfront cost for you and the most for your community to gain. Wind energy is another option. So prior to joining community solar, for the previous 3 years, I was using Green Mountain wind energy. So I would receive a ComEd bill every month, and you would see the difference. Supplier would be ComEd because it's ComEd who owns the lines, okay? And then I would see the source of energy would be Green Mountain wind. And I chose Mountain. I'm not here to tout them, but it was rated the highest in customer satisfaction. And overall, I was satisfied with the service. You do have to watch the rates fluctuate. So you have to, watch your bill. They usually have a wonderful initial start rate. And then at a certain time, it jumps. So you have to call in, find out what the lowest rate available is, and then start a new contract. So just be mindful of that. I had a few payment cycles where I was really taken back, but Green Mountain was handled it very professionally and actually credited my electric bill because it had jumped so much. But this was something that it was nominally more than fossil fuel electricity. And then of course there's solar panels, rebates were being phased out at the end of 2019, but of course, with all of this buzz with investing in long-term initiatives, I look, I would say, keeping an ear out for a resurgence of those rebates. Even when you have a renewable source, you still want to limit your energy use. And the best way to do that, energy efficient appliances. They're standard now. If you don't have one, you want one with the Energy Star label. Smart power cords. These reduce and basically eliminate vampire electricity. And if you've never heard of vampire electricity, that is the electricity that is used when something is just plugged into the wall. It's not necessarily on, but it's in a dormant state. It's like a toaster. If that toaster doesn't have a smart cord or attached to a smart power strip, then it continues to suck energy out. While it is nominal in comparison to while it is in use, it's called vampire electricity. Okay. Again, I just mentioned smart power smart power strips. They can detect when a device is in standby mode, so they can cut off power and save energy. And of course, saving energy in the long run is going to save you money on those utility bills. Bulbs, not all created equal, right? Traditional incandescent bulbs, these were phased out mostly in 2020. Then there's LEDs and CFLs. CFLs, the compact fluorescent, I read that they're going to be going off the market soon. They're hard to recycle due to the mercury inside. They need to be recycled properly. Not everyone does that. But they were a wonderful segue into an alternative from the traditional, because they use 25 to 35% less energy than the traditional and were economical to buy. Now, LEDs are the most efficient. They have an 18 to 46 year lifespan. They use 75% less energy than traditional bulbs. There is more of an upfront cost, but every year they get more and more inexpensive. And now I love the fact that there's different lighting options. So again, technology is taking us into the future. So that's electricity. Now, water usage. We live in the Midwest, so we're very fortunate. I really never thought about water usage. That was somebody else's problem, right? Indoor use, the same practical tips that we've been hearing for decades are really the same. Don't run water while brushing your teeth. Take shorter showers. It's better for your skin anyway. And limit water usage while doing your dishes. And I think it's about being mindful and conscientious, and taking small steps throughout your day to minimize the water usage inside your house. And you'll find most things that are good for the environment are actually good for us as humans, whether it's the food you eat, the amount of water you use. Water is very drying for the skin and so forth. You're going to find that they're one and the same. We're all interconnected. And has anyone else's water bill increased dramatically this past year? I thought, wow, with everyone home, our water consumption has just quadrupled, but it was the price of water, at least on my bill, went up this year. So the other thing is landscaping. So there's one piece of the water usage is in the home, and the next is landscaping. Landscape irrigation is estimated to account for nearly 1/3 of all residential water use, totaling nearly 9 billion gallons per day. We, again, are fortunate enough to live here, but there are many states that experience chronic water shortages. This could and will become a problem for us if we don't take action. So for lawn sprinklers, a timer is not enough. It is recommended that we install a smart irrigation system with a sensor. It'll run only when needed. You can even control some models remotely. Look for one with the water sense label. The EPA has estimated that these systems can save an average home 8,800 gallons of water a year. So again, you'll have an initial investment if you've got a sprinkler system, but don't have the smart irrigation system. That's an initial investment, but saving water will save you money in the long run. And again, you'll be helping the environment. This one picture shows a rain barrel. I have a rain barrel, and it is great for watering flower beds, potted plants, and lawns. It is not suitable for vegetable and herb gardens because of the runoffs. There can be toxins in it. But again, the long-term payoff will be on your water bill. I use this for all my potted plants. I just installed a native plant garden last year, so I used it for that. And I didn't even need to use the hose for the most part. And then there's the other side of landscaping, chemicals. So when you can, go organic to reduce, or eliminate pesticides. In the fall of 2019, an article came out regarding the drop in bird population, 29% drop in North America, and they're attributing it to our pesticides being used on lawns. I was just in Kiowa Island for spring break, and that's off the coast of Charleston, South Carolina. It's a tiny little strip of land, and typically they have a bobcat population of 30 to 35. And due to pesticides being used right now, they show less than 10 bobcats. And so now they're having a big push, save the bobcats, don't use pesticides. It just affects the entire ecosystem. Bobcats prey on other smaller rodents and so forth. So we're all interconnected. And so what we choose for our homes on our landscaping, it does make a difference. And knowledge is power. Be knowledgeable. Know what your lawn care provider uses. I know ignorance can be bliss, but we can't use that as an excuse anymore. Become more knowledgeable and make steps towards positive change. And one way to do that, this picture is the picture of a native plant. Milkweed, aside from composting, number 2 thing you can do for the environment is plant milkweed. It's great for the monarch butterflies, and we have lost 90% of monarchs through their migration to the south or die off due to the removal of the native milkweed plant. We just haven't been planting it. It's been removed more outside of our area. Plants like rose bushes have been planted. Native plants, they're native for a reason. They're meant to withstand our extreme temperature changes, the cold, the heat, the humidity. They're very hardy. And after the first season, you don't need that much water. Again, long run, saving you money. They're also a lot less expensive to buy when you're buying starter kits or even partially grown plants. So on to durable goods. I will be so happy when I can do these presentations in person again, because I love the feedback and the expressions in people's faces. So our obsession with stuff, durable goods. Number one thing, again, not wanting to take away creature comforts, but be educated about what you buy. Be an educated consumer. Know the company that makes your products. So, Patagonia. So if you know anything about Patagonia, you know that every single piece of clothing can be traced back to a specific plant. They use recycled materials. Their entire philosophy is centered around sustainability. Okay, you can easily, again, use that search engine, look up recycled products. It's about being mindful while shopping and less impulse buying, right? So, what is it made of? Is it sustainable? Is this something that adds meaning to your life? We kind of have to get to this point, not just thinking about, um, how it's made, even if it's made wonderfully. If you have 10 of them at home, maybe you don't need it, right? Um, you know, support green companies that do the work for you basically. They've already done the research, they've already said they've already determined what's a best practice environmentally. And then when you're buying things, try to eliminate the single use products, and there are so many in our house. So use less disposable plastic, lunches, the food storage, do reusable bags, reusable containers, reusable shopping bags. It did pain me in the middle of at the beginning of the pandemic, for months, not being able to bring my reusable shopping bags to the stores. But of course, um, we knew so little, and I would never take a chance for health reasons. So, but now I'm happy to be bringing my own bags again. Um, you know, what I've done over the last couple of years is I've taken a look at my house and looked at my single use packaging, that I would be consistently recycling. And I've slowly tried to eliminate those things. And none of this is overnight, right? Being green is definitely, like I said before, it's a process. But cleaning products I found ridiculous. They're very expensive. And there's a lot of plastic that isn't recyclable in the packaging. So I highly recommend to save money on something like this. Make your own. Vinegar, white vinegar with water and citrus rinds makes a wonderful window cleaner. Then there's companies that sell glass bottles with tablets. They're like, I don't know, like a salt bath bomb or something like that. You put it in the bottle, it dissolves, and that is your household cleaner. So I happened to buy Blue Land. It's just a company I Googled online. I did a search engine online and came across it. And so far, so good. I've had them for over a year. Soap. I thought I was really good because I'd buy those large refillable liquid soap containers, and still plastic, right? And I'd refill my soap dispensers at each sink. So for a while I tried bar soap, going back to old school. That's what I grew up on, is bar soap in a dish at every sink. But that was really messy with two boys. So then when I found this company that sells the glass dispensers and then the soap bombs that you put in the dispenser, it's a zero waste company. So they even offset the emissions from shipping. So I can feel good about it. And it's amazing how much less space these things take up in my home as well. So holidays, so obsession with stuff. So getting to the holidays, I would say make a conscious effort to scale down alternatives to purchase gifts, like events when we can. I think it'll be such a treat to go out and go to a play or a concert. Those are going to be, I think, the hot commodities when we start to open up here. Alternative to wrapping, find ways that you don't have to spend money on wrapping paper and bows. I do not buy any wrapping, and I think any gift that I buy is presented in a fun, nice way. And then birthdays, if you have young children at home, please end the goodie bag tradition. The party should be the goodie bag, right? If kids generally don't care, and they're so, especially the young ones, they're so overstimulated when leaving a party that the goodie bag gets forgotten, and typically the parent throws it out. And a lot of times it's in a plastic bag. It's not recyclable. It's a plastic little toys. And sometimes those are fun and we just need to indulge ourselves, but it's gotten to the point of excess, right? I'm guilty of it. When my kids were younger, I was doing it, but as they've gotten older and I've become more aware and a more mindful shopper, shopping at the dollar store, I think, oh my gosh, there's nothing environmentally friendly here. So I try, if I want to do something, a takeaway, I try to make it food, a consumable that they can have at a later time. And being knowledgeable about what's in our products, the products that you feel like, okay, I still want to buy the, let's say shampoo. Palm oil plantations are devastating rainforests. So what they do is they tear down the rainforest to build these plantations because palm oil demand is on the rise. And it's in food, like prepared foods. Earth Balance was my favorite non-dairy spread. And then I saw a show on palm oil and I went through my fridge to see, okay, I don't buy anything with palm oil. I can't buy anything with palm oil. And what do you know? I had some products and the Earth Balance was my toughest break. So sometimes I guess there is a little sacrifice, but there's always alternatives. It's always seeking out different alternatives, and being creative. Right now, there are so many companies to choose from when thinking about where and how to invest, and so many ways to find out if a company is environmentally conscious. You know, just use a search engine, type in the name of the company and the word environment, and it leads you, it'll bring up their page, whatever their page might be, like sustainability initiatives or whatever might be called at that particular company. But it is fairly easy. Pretty much any company I've looked up, I've been able to. But investing matters too. And I'm not an expert in this field, but again, that's a whole nother course, right? But luckily, we have loads of resources at our fingertips. And these are just two reputable websites that I thought I would mention. And that was just for me, again, searching online. So, again, I've been talking about being a knowledgeable consumer. Be a knowledgeable resident too. Find out. I'm going to be attending some of these upcoming webinars that Ryan just mentioned, especially the native plants, because I have a black thumb. I do not have a green thumb. But whatever drop-off programs that are happening, I've been to Glenview for a couple of recycling events. There's also textile recycling. There's old shoes recycling. And what I do is in my basement, I have boxes, I label them so that I can just, when something needs to be recycled, I can get it out of my sight and away. But when I see a local event happening, I can just grab it and go. And it's not much of an effort. I don't have to go through every closet first, right? There's really a program for everything. Swank, Swank, I believe is what you use as well, Solid Waste Agency of Northern Cook County. This is an invaluable resource. I use them all the time. When people will contact me and say, Tina, what do I do with this? Oh, do you take this? And if I don't, I'll just look up the Swank website and I will use their resource pages. So they will list websites, including my own, on resources on where to buy recycled recycled products, how to dispose of your items properly, and even information on best practices in landscaping, which is a great resource. Okay, so I've tried to make this short and brief. These, you just invested your time and attention in this presentation. Now it's time to take action. So in the spirit of Greta, what can you do now? I highly recommend after this presentation and any Q&A, identify at least 3 changes you can make at home. Have a conversation with anyone affected by those changes. And together agree on just one thing you can all do and start it. If tonight, tomorrow morning, try it for a month. I think it's really important for us to feel that these everyday actions matter, and they really do. They add up. Next month, add another. If your family if you're filled with go-getters, then try 2 a month. I do it for as often as I possibly can without disrupting, the whole family. But, Rome wasn't built in a day, right? Nor will you change all your habits at once. But, it's worth the effort in the end, and it doesn't have to be more expensive. Of course, I love this quote. The ultimate reason why I feel so passionately about the environment is my children and the generation of children to come. So I believe we can do better. And obviously, so do you, or you would not be here this evening. So, okay, I'm going to, let's see, maybe talk to Ryan.
Yes, yeah. Thank you so much, Tina. That was fantastic. So many great ideas. Some I've heard of, some I have not, or have not put much thought into. I don't think about like seasonal vegetables and fruit as much as I should. I
Well,
know
I'm
I
sure
don't.
you've probably heard most of the things I talked about. I think, again, because it's a slow change, we're prepared and ready to kind of take on some of those changes at certain times and at other times not, right? So I'm hoping repetitiveness, right? Repeating those things that we know back, in the back of our minds, but by hearing it again, it just reinforces the idea and maybe inspires someone to take action.
Definitely, definitely. I'm so happy you were here tonight with us to talk about this. And just like I said, just the more we can absorb it, the more we can see it, the more we can take the next steps of moving forward. So at this time, we are in the Q&A portion of our presentation. So if you do have any questions, please click on the Q&A button normally at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and then submit a question that way, and I will go ahead and read it off. So I do have a question here that I'm going to start with from Helen. Helen cheated a little bit and put 2 questions in one, but that's okay. Her first question was, you don't want to put weeds in compost, right?
You are correct, Helen. First, thank you for being here. But no, you don't want to put weeds. Weeds, they drain the soil of nutrients. That's why grass doesn't grow around them. And your compost, you want it all to be nutrient rich, right? So, and that's going to feed your garden beds or feed your soil, your vegetable beds, right? So you don't want weeds in there. How good or bad is commercial lawn waste recycling? Specifically, what lawn waste recycling are you referring to? Because, you know, each community has a different program. So I'm not sure, but you can type in and see.
Yeah, we can circle back to that perhaps if Helen can clarify. I'm going to jump in and, oh, actually, Helen just got back to us.
Oh,
Groot or
group
waste
or waste
management?
management. Well, so those companies do have um, programs to like take uh, branches and things like that and turn them into mulch. The the more important thing is that when you and I am not a landscaping expert. Landscaping, again, I have a black thumb, but I do attend seminars all the time in hopes that I can learn something. But when you're mowing your lawn, you really want to leave the grass there. It composts back into the soil, right? It does feed your soil. So it is healthy. At different stages, landscapers will recommend different things. But I'm not sure how much, we don't have a lot of lawn waste. I have a 50 by 200-foot lot. It's a lot of lawn. I don't use chemicals, so I have a lot of weeds. Um, but we might have a bag every maybe month. We just cut, in terms of if you've got a lot of trees, take those leaves and use them in your compost. I just get a big plastic um, waste container, garbage can, and store the leaves in there, and they really pack down. You've got to pack them down with your rake or shovel and get the air out, but they really pack down into containers or the lawn waste bags. But I guess you have to first start and ask yourself, well, what's in those containers? If you have a pristine lawn where everything is groomed and put in bags and taken away, then maybe look for alternatives on what to do with that waste.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Helen, for that question. Thank you, Tina. So I have my own question I want to jump in with, and I'm a little bit afraid of the answer. So my wife and I are big into getting meal services. So, like Blue Apron, Hello Fresh,
Mhm.
Dinnerly. We've tried quite a few of them. How bad are they? Are they bad? Are they okay? What do you think?
Well, I've never used one. I have a family of four. I like to cook. My husband likes to cook, so I've never used one. I don't think the idea of them is not bad. I think asking yourself and asking the company questions like, okay, what are your containers made of? There are compostable containers. Um, uh, okay, is the food local? Is it organic? Is it sustainable food? Are they giving you seasonal? It's in their best interest to give you seasonal food, right? Because it's going to be less expensive for them, more of a profit for them. So I would assume that they give you ingredients that are, because these are like, they give you a recipe and they give you the exact ingredients all cut and everything, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So, so I'm assuming that they're going for, things that are in season. But those are questions. Again, be that educated consumer, and what efforts, what practices do they have in place to make their business more environmentally friendly? Again, I don't think it's anything that you need to cut out. I'm certainly not against them. It's not practical for my household, but I like the premise of them, and I like it better than constantly ordering takeout. Most takeout that's hot is in six, the number six plastic or styrofoam, and it just white styrofoam is recyclable, not in any village recycling, but you can take it to different places. In Glenview, Apt takes white styrofoam. Where I'm at, I drive up to Highland Park or I go to Apt if I'm in that area. So, but the number six plastic, it's that black plastic. It's not recyclable anywhere there. And when I say not recyclable, sure, everything is recyclable, but there needs to be a market for it. There is no market for people to buy recycled number six because it is difficult to recycle. So there's no business. to be had um, with that. So it does that's nothing is straightforward, Brian.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. I just didn't know if there was like a if you knew of any reason why it was. I mean, it's there's obvious, like everything comes packaged individually, so you got all those individual packaging. They might have like overall a better overall package that it all comes inside of that's more recyclable, which they do. Some of them do that, but like the individual packaging might not be as environmentally friendly. So yeah, things that we need to think about.
But if it's compostable, then you throw it in the compost bin, and it's you're giving it back, right? Giving it back to the earth. So
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be all bad. And if it's not, by emailing a company or calling a company, you are voicing your opinion. And if enough people do that, they will start to look at their practices. Um, it's the same with retailers. So I worked in high-end retail before starting this, which is why I started this business, because I saw the extreme amount of waste. Um, so retailers, they go to trade shows, right? They choose the vendors and products that they want to have in their stores. And along the North Shore, we have a lot of high-end shops. So I worked at Bedside Manor. It's a high-end luxury bedding store, okay, couture for the bedroom. And when the buyer for Bedside would go to a vendor and tell them, your packaging is just so over the top. It's so excessive. And what happens is there's a whole previous packaging life for everything we buy. When a product comes into a store, let's say in a zipper vinyl bag, it is not sold. It is not put on the floor in a zipper vinyl bag, right? Because that's not attractive. So you know, with the retailers speaking to the vendors saying, we just throw those bags away. Now they pass them on to me. But, you know, vendors are starting to say, oh, yeah, this is really wasteful. So this vinyl bag is being used for 2 days in a box, never seeing the light of day. And yet it stays on our earth forever because the vinyl is, again, one of those things that is not recyclable because there is no market for recycling it. So it's it does create change to voice your opinion. It does. I know it's hard to. I think many people are hesitant to make that phone call, but it can be done politely and professionally and from the heart.
I'm hesitant, but my wife is not. She will speak her mind for sure.
Oh,
She
that's
lets let them know.
yes, I know. My husband and I are the same way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, and
Uh,
that's kind of par for the course, but I'm not going to stereotype.
I usually pass off the feedback emails to her and say, "Here you go. You can go ahead and tell them what you think."
Mhm, mhm. Exactly. Well, I don't know if there's any other questions. Feel free to ask. Nothing is off limits.
Yeah, so yeah, feel free if you have any last questions, please submit a Q&A. In the meantime here, I am going to put a link to the survey for tonight's program, just letting us know what you thought of tonight's program, what you want to see in the future. This feedback is very important to us, and we do read them, we do use them to help improve our programming in the future. So I am going to pop this into the chat and make sure it's going out to everybody. And there we go. I'm also going to send this out into a follow-up email tomorrow, so you can get it that way as well. But this link will take you to a new window with the survey in it. It takes a little bit for it to load, but your Zoom will still be open. So feel free to fill that out, and we do appreciate that feedback.
Okay.
All right. Well, I don't see any other questions. So Tina, I want to thank you so much for coming tonight. Um, I learned a
Thank you
lot.
for having me.
Yeah, definitely. You taught us so many different tips and suggestions and things to think about, and that's really important. Like you said, things that we can think about. That's kind of the first step before we can take action. So thank you so much for coming out.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Ryan, and have a good evening, everyone. Enjoy the sunshine.
Yes, indeed. While it lasts, it's going to get a little bit colder soon, I think, but right now it's beautiful out. It's a great weekend too. So, thank you again. Thank you all for coming tonight. I hope you have a rest of a good evening, and I hope to see you all in person soon. So, take care.
Okay, take care.